Hey, hey, hey. What is up, you beautiful people? Welcome back to the Built on Bitcoin podcast, where we cover everything going on in the Stacks ecosystem. This is a This Week in Stacks episode where we cover, like it sounds, everything that happened in the past 7 days in Stacks. But just a caveat, this is the last episode of this specific type of show. So I've been a Stacks focused podcast up to this point. I really wanted to build a hyper niche audience, make sure I can break through and deliver tons of value to one small audience. And I think I've done that. So I'm now branching out and starting to cover the white space that I think is Bitcoin builders and innovation broadly. So I'll be covering Stacks. I got a lot of love for Stacks, obviously. It's how I got into crypto. So we're going to keep covering Stacks. But starting next week, this episode or this weekly update we call This Week in Bitcoin. And we'll be covering everything that I can find on Bitcoin proper, but also Stacks, Lightning, RSK, Liquid, and whatever else is on the fringes that maybe I'm not aware of. So kind of an end of an era. This podcast has been, a year of delivering and producing and talking to interesting people. So I think it's time to start to expand. So anyway, just caveating that, letting you guys know. So yeah, let's just jump in. But first, a quick read from my sponsor, the Stacks Foundation.
We all know Bitcoin is for the innovators, the revolutionaries, and the builders looking to build a better world for themselves and for the next generation. We also know the saying, the best time to plant a tree is 20 years ago. The next best time is right now. The same thing applies to building on Bitcoin. If you want to come build with the most active developer community building new use cases for Bitcoin, then it's time you make the leap to learning Clarity. Clarity is the Stacks smart contract programming layer, which enables us to work on DeFi, smart contracts, and so much more, all built with the safety and security that comes with Bitcoin. Start today by going to start.stacks.org. Start.stacks.org has a 5-step journey that will take you from complete Stacks novice to teaching you Clarity all the way to finding a job with a Web3 Stacks startup. Don't wait another month, year, or decade waiting to get involved in the Bitcoin ecosystem. Start building on Bitcoin today. Go to start.stacks.org to start learning and building today.
So now let's jump into this This Week in Stacks episode. So first on the list, Gamma, the NFT marketplace, now supports Alex token and Mega token as payment options if you want it. So when you're creating your collection, you now have two more options out of the, I think you can do XBTC, you can use Stacks, you can use XUSD, you can use USDA. Almost anything that Alex, the DeFi platform, allows, you can now use as a payment option. So there's more flexibility, more options to choose from, which is always nice. All right, next up, the Stacks Foundation grants process is changing again. So it went from GitHub to this custom-built solution. Now they're going to kind of a hybrid model, but it will mostly live on GitHub. And so if you go to stacks.org/grants, you'll see a new homepage, and you'll connect your GitHub on the first part of the application process. Then you'll fill out your application. It will go to a new flow where they'll review applications in batches. And then once they are ready for not approval properly, but ready for review by the Stacks community, it'll go and get posted on GitHub, where the community can then comment and review on different grants and how they feel about them. So that'd be nice. I actually think it's cool to go back to GitHub, because GitHub is kind of a central source for how different projects track development. And so now, hopefully, because the grants process is coming there, we'll have a little more granular data on just how much activity is happening in the Bitcoin space, but also in the Stack space more proper. So that's cool to see. Also, you can submit a wish list item if you want. So if there's something that you would like to see built, but it's not in your kind of like wheelhouse, you could submit a grant wish list, And if someone else wants to pick it up and pluck it, they can hopefully secure funding and build that thing that you saw but didn't have the skills to execute. So if you got some stuff in your noggin that you think will be good for stacks and it's not being built yet, good place to go. All right, next up, Xverse mobile wallet had a big update. You can now buy stacks and Bitcoin directly in the wallet through a integration with MoonPay. So, I mean, I'm really curious to watch Xverse over these next months to a couple years because I think there's a big opportunity with all this stuff coming to stacks, tighter integrations, Lightning, starting to condense the seed phrase paths so that maybe a Bitcoin seed address and stacks address are more closely tied. I think you can get some really interesting blending of sending things like NFTs to an Xverse Bitcoin wallet, and it will sit and feel like it's a Bitcoin NFT, even though it's living on stacks. So you can start to blend those lines, which I think is a big unlock for the future because people don't care about what chain is what at the end of the day. On a long enough time horizon, it's just going to be about utility and how easy it is to use. So Xverse is a place to watch. All right, some updates from content creators like myself. The Airdrop show had Tyler Faust on, and he's an NFT artist, but his kind of like style is he does doodles where he puts the pen on the paper and just starts going and never lifts his pen. So the art piece is just one giant line that doesn't cross over itself. So it's not like filling in things. It's just a giant squiggle that never crosses and looks super dope. So you can check that one out. The link is in the description. A lot of this stuff is in the description. So Airdrop Show interviewed Tyler Faust, titled Going from Doodles to Full-Fledged Artist. Also, I had a fantastic interview with Thomas Osmondson on the Built on Bitcoin podcast. He goes by All New on Twitter and is the co-founder at Fungible Systems, which is a crypto product design studio that's creating different applications around the Stacks ecosystem. So they were early Stacks Blockstack employees, and they spun out into the freelance thing. And so they've done the redesign for Gamma. I think they're working on some wallet stuff. They're also working on some dev tooling, kind of like back-end library stuff. But it was cool to talk to him. He's got an interesting perspective. He's a dev in the trenches, more of a designer by trade, and then became more full-stack programming over time. And that one was good. We talked about a bunch of topics around deving, Bitcoin. Highly recommend that one. And then Stacker Chats with Gina and Munib. They had an episode put out called Why Bitcoin Layers Are Important to Bitcoin Economy Growth. And they kind of talk about the early days with things like Namecoin and how the culture of experimentation and builder culture existed much more back then and how it needs to come back. Maybe it is coming back, but the importance of that for Bitcoin to achieve its goal. Next up, we have Alex, the DeFi platform built on stacks, secured by Bitcoin. And they have been working on a scalability solution and some new products that have just gone to testnet. So they have something called the Alex Orderbook, which allows you to, an order book is a way to facilitate trades on both sides. And given the nature of Bitcoin and how slow it is, it's not fast enough to really run something like this. And so they've invented their own hybrid on-chain, off-chain solution that still settles down to Bitcoin, apparently. I didn't go into technical stuff of this, but you can go test it out on testnet right now. I'll drop the link below, or you can go to orderbook.alexlab.co and check it out. But yeah, I think we're seeing more and more innovation around this idea of Bitcoin DeFi, and so I'm really curious to see how this progresses. This is one big piece when it comes to scalability and transaction finality happening quicker. Another big one will be more native integration with Bitcoin. I know they're working on that. We'll see what happens, but that's big news. Then, there's a new clarity tutorial. So Hero has been putting out a bunch of tutorials lately, and this one came from the Clarity Lang YouTube. So the people who are also producing the Clarity Camp, which is teaching newbie developers how to code in Clarity, they put out a tutorial on how to write your first Stacks Smart counter contract. And so it's a half-hour tutorial, and it goes into the weeds, showing you through a screen share how to do all these different things to make a basic smart contract counter that goes live to the blockchain. Last but certainly not least, we got an update direct from one of the Stacks builders, Philip de Smedt, which is one of the core contributors at Arkadiko. He's going to pop on real quick to give an update on something that they've been working on in conjunction with Alex. So let's jump over to Philip.
Hey Stacks community, and also hey to the Built on Bitcoin listeners. I hope you are enjoying your summer. As you can see, it's pretty hot here, and I am enjoying mine. I wanted to give you a quick update from the Arkadiko site. But for those of you who are not aware of what Arkadiko is, well, we are a stablecoin project on Stacks. Our stablecoin is called USDA, US dollar Arkadiko, and it's a soft back to the US dollar, as the name already says. And so the way you mint USDA is by putting some STX, so some Stacks tokens, or some wrapped Bitcoin, XBTC tokens in a vault and mint USDA against that. This process is what we call collateralization of your crypto assets, so in vaults. So when we talk about collateralizing or collateralization, that's what we simply refer to, putting some tokens, some crypto assets as collateral and locking that somewhere. Important to note is that your STX tokens, they keep on stacking and earning a yield all at the same time while they're in an Arkadiko vault, which creates this really cool self-repaying loans, as we call them. And it's still a loan because you do pay some borrowing fees, or what we call stability fees. Usually they're between 1 and 4%, and your yield in proof of transfer, as you probably know, is between 7 and 10%. So that's why it's self-repaying, because your loan is, or your yield rather, is higher than your borrowing fee for your loan. But the reason I'm talking to you today is that we have an exciting new development. We're adding AT-Alex as a collateral type for Arkadiko vaults. And AT-Alex, it stands for Auto-Alex, and is the auto-compounding Alex governance token. Alex itself is one of the biggest, if maybe not the biggest, DeFi platform on Stacks. And so we're super excited to be adding their governance token and to bring our two communities together. And so that means that soon you will be able to collateralize AT-Alex in an Arkadiko vault and use that to mint USDA. But why would you mint USDA, you ask? I do think that's a great question. I get that often, and you can do all sorts of things, really. And the most common is either providing liquidity on a USDA pair, maybe minting USDA to use it in some other DeFi protocol, maybe even, cashing it out through Stacks into some real dollars. And I think that's maybe the coolest use case, since at the same time you have that self-repaying loan. And so that is very common. But in general, it is for people who want to make their crypto assets more liquid. You get real dollars for your Stacks tokens without having to sell the STX. And now the same is possible for AT-Alex. And that's great. No? I do think it's awesome. So again, I hope a lot of the Alex community are excited with this new development. I'm sure we are. And if you're interested in trying Arkadiko, you can find us on Twitter. We have a Discord. Our Twitter handle is Arkadiko Finance. That's one word, Arkadiko Finance. And you can find the Discord link there. If you want to go straight to the app, that's app.arkadiko.finance. Cheers, guys.
Thank you, Philip, for popping in and giving us an update. Super, super cool. I mean, I think we all just want more options when it comes to our finances. This is one more of those pieces. So yeah, that is this week's episode and the last of This Week in Stacks. Next week, we are moving on to This Week in Bitcoin. So you'll probably see how much I cover Stacks as far as like how much time I spend on each item going down. Because I like the idea of these updates still being 10, 15. I mean, maybe we'll go to 20 minutes now that we're going this wide. But I want it to be something digestible that you can just, on your way to the grocery store or something, you can get your digital upload of everything that's going on in Bitcoin. So I think everything will be pretty glossary. So these 10-minute updates will go into very almost like sound bites and just like headlines of boom, Alex did this, Arkadiko did that, shout at them. But I'm filling it out. So if you have any resources, send them my way. I'm building a list of each platform and who to follow so I can just pop in and go, okay, cool, this is happening on RSK. That's pretty cool on Lightning, and aggregate it for you guys. So yeah, super excited. Also nervous because I'm pretty well versed at stacks, but Bitcoin is so vast and there's so much knowledge and OGs here that have been here, reading articles, putting in the time. And I've been in the crypto space for literally a year, and I've been in stacks pretty much the whole time. So I'm very much a purple hueish Bitcoiner. I have a lot to learn, so I'm going to come with a lot more questions than statements. But yeah, we're gonna try and thread the line of being a Bitcoiner, self-identified, and threading this line of innovation and all the stuff that's going on in all the myriad of ways through stacks, RSK, whatever. I'm not going to judge. I'm going to let the market decide, but I'm going to try and give it to break down the details for you so you can see it and not have it mixed in with all the other stuff that's on Ethereum and Solana that I don't really care about. So yeah, that's new focus. I love y'all. Thank you for listening. If you want to stay in touch, builtonbitcoin.xyz is the best resource. Subscribe to the newsletter. That's going to be the place I'm putting a lot of my resources in tandem with this podcast. But that's it. I'll see y'all in the next episode. Peace.
Welcome to Built on Bitcoin.
I know that things don't always go your way, but I'll be right here waiting. I've been waiting now. I've been trying to figure out a way to make it out. Cause I don't think about everything going wrong.